Okay, so we got the 40 and the number 2 terracer, the DW6, the 60 and the 20. So now we're going to hop up and get on down the road heading towards Sandford Cat. So we've been on the road for 45 minutes or so, getting ready to pull into the Sandford skid steer Caterpillar plant. What do you think? What can we expect, Dad?
Well, we don't really know. We don't have a whole lot of information other than please bring some tractors. So here we are. We're going to find out here directly.
So we're getting ready to turn in. Like I said, we've got the 40, the DW6, and the number 2 terracer on our truck. And then the truck behind us has the 20 and the 60. So we're coming up on the entrance and not quite sure what to expect, but let's find out. So is this their skid steer headquarters?
This is the manufacturing plant for all the skid steers in North America.
Just in North America? Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't think they have a plant overseas. But.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But they've got a bunch of inventory stock over here. And we are heading right over here with the booth they've got set up.
Sandford, North Carolina, where they're starting their Centennial World Tour celebrating the 100th anniversary of Caterpillar Tractor Company, which was actually incorporated on April 15, 1925 with a merger of C.L. Best Tractor Company and Holt Manufacturing. And of course, Holt had the trade name Caterpillar at the time, whereas Best was using the trade name Tracklayer. So anyway, that's where it all started. So now we're celebrating 100 years and the great tractors that have been produced by it.
This is a 40, that's a 60. That's a DW6. So say again, which one you want to do?
The 40, the grader's hooked up to the 40, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So that'll go back. There's a tent back here.
Oh, okay, all right.
And then the DW in the back. And this one here.
Okay, that's a 20.
We'll keep those up front here.
Okay.
And then the
60?
The 60 will go on the back side.
All right.
Are you going to be okay on the concrete and the asphalt?
It won't bother me a bit. It's up to y'all. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
Oh, right there.
You're crooked.
If we could straighten the tractor out.
We're trying to get it lined up with this crack in the concrete right here. Make it look nice and pretty for on exhibit. Beautiful.
This is a 1936 Model 40. This was during the time when Caterpillar named their models by the horsepower. Of course, this is a 4-cylinder gasoline engine, not a diesel. And of course, it was rated at 40 horsepower. And this was one of 597 that were made. And this is unique in that it's what's called a wide gauge. They made it in 2 different track widths. So in order to make the wider, they put that spacer back there that you can see at the bell housing, and so they didn't make a lot of those. Can you see that spacer?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what's the difference between a standard gauge and a wide gauge. And of course, it's a 4-cylinder. Okay, what was unique about this particular tractor, we rebuilt it by putting 2 together. We took the best of one machine and the best of the other because it wasn't good, but we still did not have a good intake manifold. This is, where the gas goes through the carburetor into the 2 cylinders. This piece was completely rusted out. And of course, we looked everywhere to find one and couldn't find one because, again, they only made 500 and no one who had a tractor was willing to sell it that we could find. So Eric, this outside diameter was approximately 3.5 inches. So I said, well, let's get some 3.5-inch pipe and we'll just make it. So the inside is a 2-inch pipe. So Eric made the flanges and welded on, and with this, and I looked all over the country. I thought I could go to a plumbing supply house and say, I need 3.5-inch pipe and elbow. Oh, that's not standard. I finally found it at an irrigation supply house in California. They had some 3.5-inch cast iron pipe. So I bought 2 elbows, and so Eric made this by the internal works is from here up through this, and this is what's called the heat shield, so that when it's in cold weather, the exhaust comes through here and preheats the air going into the tractor. And so this is, if you look real close, you can see a few well pots here where it's put together. Otherwise, you can't tell it from being, and right here also you can see some.
So there's a straight piece of pipe, and then he welded on an elbow here
on both ends,
and on the other
both
end.
ends. And then, like I said, there's an internal piping with an elbow inside and a T right in here.
So this is this is just a covering for an internal pipe.
Right, but it serves a purpose. It preheats that internal pipe so that when it goes into the engine, the air is already warmer. So especially in cold weather, it does that better. So that's unique about this in that Eric made something that's not available. Now the other thing you'll notice about this particular tractor, it's hand crank. To crank it, of course, you open the compression leaf and you have to engage to crank it. Well, Eric and I carried this to the National Construction Equipment Show in Bowling Green, Ohio one year. And we were there. Of course, we didn't take this tractor, but and of course, when it was freshly rebuilt, it had a lot of compression because the rings hadn't seated. And anyway, this guy come riding in and had a 40. Now his was not a wide gauge; it was a narrow gauge, and he was a little 110-pound guy. And I said, Eric, how in the world is that man going to crank that thing? I got to see this. Well, so he walked over there and got on a tractor and turned the switch. He had an electric starter right there, and he just cranked right up. And I said, Eric, we got to have one, but we've looked for the starter ring that goes on the outside of the flywheel. We've never found one. And of course, we've never converted it to electric start. But it could be done if you could find the ring, the starter band ring that goes around the outside of it.
And that's what would mount where this plate right here is?
Yeah, that's where our electric starter would go. And of course, with a battery, You could just crank it right up. You wouldn't have to hand crank it.
But as of right now, this is original, as in the hand crank.
This is original hand crank. And but Caterpillar made, you know, in their castings, they made provisions for electric start. But anyway, that little 110-pound guy who had to be 80 years old, he got up on there and cranked that thing right up. And I said, Eric, I got to have one of those.
So when y'all made the DW6, was it manufactured with the electric start, or did you convert it?
Yes, it was. Okay. Now the other one that we have, the other wheel tractor we have,
it's not restored.
It's not restored, but it's sitting there. It is a 9U engine, or 9U Caterpillar, so it's a previous model. Oh, it has, electric started pony engine that would start the diesel engine, but the engine is bad. See, we were told when we bought both of them from a scrap dealer up in Virginia that the one that we brought here had a bad gear in the transmission, and then the other one had a bad engine. So we decided, okay, let's do the one that was a couple years newer and had that. And of course, we didn't know that we had to replace every gear in the transmission plus the bull gear that was in there. But fortunately, those are standard Caterpillar parts, so we were able to buy them. They were the stuff that was special to the DW6. All that was good, except of course new tires. Now, when we got it, it had herringbone tires on it, and we looked everywhere for herringbone tires and couldn't find them. So we, in essence, purchased new non-directional tires like you would find on any big wheel tractor now.
What are you thinking, Papa?
I'm thinking it's a great day here in Sandford, North Carolina, for unloading some equipment to demonstrate to Caterpillar employees where they came from. Like I said, they make skid steers here at that plant. This is an original skid steer. Got to get up here and unchain it.
Where you want that
The little yellow one will go right up here on this side.
Okay, I'll back the truck over close.
Yeah.
We'll probably just roll it right off where you want.
Perfect.
It's ironic that here we are with an original 1962 Caterpillar skid steer, and so this is the predecessor to all those skid steers. U.S. Sugar Corporation commissioned Clewiston Tractor in Clewiston, Florida, where their headquarters were, said, we're wearing out these tractors, but we like the horsepower. Can you not put some greater tires on that thing for us? It'd be so much better. Says, we'll buy more than a few of them. So they evidently, as far as we know, they bought approximately 150 Caterpillar D6. They started with the 9U, which had a gasoline pony engine on it. Of course, this one being a 1962, it is a 44A with direct electric start. So this one is an upgrade, although they both did the same thing. So it's ironic that we're here at the skid steer plant bringing one of the early skid steers.
So we're gonna dump the 20 off right here. This morning we had a bunch of trouble trying to get it cranked. Couldn't get it started on its own. We kept having to push it off. So we're trying to back the trailer up as close as we could to where it's gonna be dumped. So that way we won't have to worry about pushing it or pulling it around, trying to get it set up. So the 60 is going to go back on the other side of this Centennial trailer, just on the other side of this front end here. But he's going to have to move the trailer because obviously he can't get the 60 off without moving the 20.
Good enough?
Yeah, unless you want to. Priming the fuel.
Priming the fuel.
What'd you do?
Triple mag.
Ah.
This is our Caterpillar 60, which we've had for a good while. I'm not sure exactly how many years, but it is a 1928 Caterpillar. So this was 3 years after the merger. And so it's basically is a best 60, but with Caterpillar name across the top and 60 here instead of best on the side. But this is a Caterpillar 60. And this is the tractor that they first put a diesel engine in to have a diesel Caterpillar. And that was first one was delivered in January 1931. But the funny story about this tractor, which we acquired from a fellow up in Nebraska, we were at Yancey Brothers, the Caterpillar dealer in Georgia, who was having their 100th celebration of being in business. And of course, Caterpillar is one of their main lines, so they had a big open house there. And they commissioned us to bring down 10 antique Caterpillars, and this was one of them. Of course, our biggest 60. We were down there, and Doug Oberhelman, who was the chairman of the board and chief executive officer of Caterpillar, was there for their open house. And of course, Doug, being the important person he was, he had on a white shirt because it was in the fall or summertime. It wasn't beastly hot, but anyway. Anyway, Doug says, "Does this thing run?" We said, "Oh yeah, we can crank it up for you." And of course, being the age that it is, it does leak a little bit. And of course, you have to open the compression releases when you crank it up. And so Doug was standing there in his white shirt. And anyway, when Eric cranked it up, it blew oil all over his white shirt, specks. Now, it wasn't black. But anyway, so Doug had to spend the rest of the day with oil specks all over his shirt. But that's the funny story about this tractor. And of course, one of the other things, when we acquired it, we decided to keep it in its original clothes, didn't paint it. And so, like the wood here, I took an old oak board. Now, it is genuine. It's probably 100 years old oak. And scratched it up and replaced what was there. The seat, if an old farmer had this, he wouldn't buy a new Han seat with a beautiful black vinyl. He would take an old piece of canvas and cover the seat, because that's exactly what my dad did. He said, "Nah, I'm not going to waste money on that. I got some old canvas here. I'll cover the seat." And come right here on the other side. And of course, remember that people today are a little bit taller than they were when this was made in 1928. So when we reworked it and reworked the seat, we raised it up by putting this board under it. And because Eric has long legs, we moved it back to have more room. So that's the other little thing about this. Of course, the other part that's not original about this particular tractor is you'll notice this spacer right here. Well, we think it was used for a power unit of something, maybe a thrashing machine or something, where they didn't use it in the field a lot, because these are the original Gausers. Normally they would have been replaced, but these were not. And they had extra height to the radiator to hold more. And when we got it, there was 2 pieces of angle iron bolted right here with a wooden step on it. And of course, that's not the original filler cap. This was made, they would be sitting there running the machine, and it would get hot, so it'd start boiling water, so they'd pour more water into it. So and it has a sight gauge to tell you how much water's in it over there. That's not original to Caterpillar.
Let's go see what's inside the trailer.
Moon boot. Caterpillar made the boots for the Mars.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, that's what it says there. Oh, they didn't make the boots. They made the communications.
Communication equipment?
Just, Cat Footwear just made that to commemorate it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's on.
plan? Oh. Pretty cool. All right, Dad. What do you think?
Good. Got all the tractors set where they wanted them. Got invited back Thursday to meet and chit chat with the executives and give some history on the tractors. Excuse me. So looking forward to that. Hopefully the weather holds out.
Pretty nice day today.
Yeah, not bad.
Wind was blowing a little hard, but
A little chilly.
nice, beautiful, cloudless day. So,
Yep.
pretty cool. Great experience.
Yep. And then Friday we get to come back and load them all back up.
You stay tuned for that video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.